Richard, this was so remarkable, though, that so many people were able to get out alive. Explain to us how this all happened.
Well, the plane, the 350 landed, and for whatever reason, there was a dash on the runway. There'll be something wrong there. I mean, it's either the air traffic control gave a wrong instruction, or it'll be one of the pilots misheard or misunderstood. So we know where the error is. The error is going to be at that early part. But then once the 350 has hit the dash and is now on fire, this is where both the miraculous and the ordinary hit together. In a sense, this is what is supposed to happen. The plane is meant to be able to go on fire for at least 90 seconds, and everybody is supposed to be get off safe and sound. It's known as a survivable accident. And the moment you get a survivable accident like this, the regulations say with half the doors inoperable, you have to be able to evacuate the aircraft within 90 seconds. We saw it with an Air France A340 some years ago in Toronto, similar case. And I think that the tragedy, well, the awfulness of the mistake that caused it, followed by the tragedy of those who died on the Coast Guard plane, can only be matched by, putting it bluntly, the system worked. They got people off the plane. It's a miracle, yes, but this is what's supposed to happen in these scenarios. It's miraculous nonetheless.
A best case scenario, given sadly fatalities on the Coast Guard plane for the airliner. Richard, thank you so much for the update. Miles, a passenger on the plane said that they did not, quote, feel a shock or anything. They only realized that there was a problem right before the announcement to evacuate. How do you see this as the system functioning as it's supposed to when it seems crazy that you see the flames coming out from the bottom of the plane and everyone made it out okay?
Yeah, I mean, obviously something went wrong here, or you wouldn't be talking about it, but the fact that everybody got out is an extraordinary thing. I don't necessarily believe miracles. This is a lot of hard work and planning and design work. For decades, the aviation industry has been focused on reducing the flammability of interior cabin materials, the upholstery of the seats and the inside cabin walls themselves. That has bought some time for passengers, assuming there is an orderly evacuation. Let's give a hat tip to the cabin flight crew for making sure that happened, that people didn't reach up for their carry-on bags, that they just went down those slides and did it in 90 seconds. It was a textbook case. You couldn't come up with a simulation that was better. But we will ultimately find out why these two planes were the same place at the same time, causing this. Could have been so much worse.
Miles, it's also interesting to note that not all of these slides deployed, right? They weren't all used. How does that happen? Is that something is that built into the system, or is that a human decision?
Well, that could very well be a human decision in this case. One of the things that flight crews are trained in is, if you think about a little bit of common sense, if you see fire, don't open those doors. You open the doors away from what appears to be burning, or what seemed to be the safest.
That's the Eddie Murphy lab.
You don't need all the doors open, as Richard pointed out well.
21 Jump Street.
That people should be able to get off, and that was it. We're talking 300 plus people, almost 400 people on board in total. Should be able to get off without all the doors open. So I wouldn't focus too much on that. The other thing is, too, the nose gear collapsed. And that could have some impact on the ability of those slides to operate properly. You saw the rear slide was quite precipitous because of that nose-down configuration, and yet it did its job. So I think overall what you have here is a demonstration of the capabilities in a dire emergency with a survivable crash that you can get people out. And I think a lot of people in the aviation world are glad to see that in spite of all we saw.
Miles, as you pointed out, there will be an investigation, and hopefully we'll learn exactly what went wrong. But given what we've seen on previous occasions, and Richard was alluding to a similar crash that happened last decade, how likely is it that some miscommunication with air traffic control took place, whether by the operators or by the pilots?
I think, Boris, you can take that one to the bank. There's confusion here. You have one frequency, one air traffic controller talking to the landing aircraft. On another frequency is another air traffic controller talking to the aircraft on the ground. And there can be confusion, it's dark. Throw in one other factor here. How long was that flight crew on that Coast Guard aircraft?
How you doing?
Flying, and they've done repeated missions to Nikata that day. Were they tired or really stressed? One other factor to consider, these are the things that we look at in aviation to improve it. The Airbus A350 is one of the first airliners with dual head-up displays. That's a little, piece of glass that appears in front of the crew and overlays crucial information, flight data information, sort of augmented information, so they don't have to keep looking down at the instruments as they land. Well, an unintended consequence of that safety measure is it makes it much harder to see what is a pretty dark aircraft that might be beneath you. So maybe there'll be a recommendation that the landing pilot has the head-up display, and the non-landing pilot, the one who's monitoring, doesn't use the head-up display. Things like this are what make aviation safe for the next time.
That is a really interesting point that not many people would think of. Miles, thank you for that, Miles O'Brien. Still ahead, former President Trump could at any moment appeal the rulings in Colorado and Maine banning him from primary ballots. We'll talk to the official who removed the former president from Maine. And a missing foreign exchange student has been found safe in Utah. Officials say he and his family were the victims of a cyber kidnapping scam. Well, more on that when we come back.
Yes, unconstitutional to do that to your man. Extraordinarily unconstitutional. Lousy.
It's payback time. All these years you've worked hard, you fixed it, you looked after it. Maybe it's time for your home to start taking care of you.
We've invested in our home, we've worked on it.
We had a whole lot of equity just sitting there.
You paid down the mortgage, invested in your home. I
Hey,
guess
so
you
what
could
you
say your
think
home
about
was
you
you.
going
If
and
you're 62 or
ran
older
up
and own
in
your
Colorado
home, learn how you
Supreme
can
Court
access a portion of
and
your home
let off
equity to
shots?
give you
I
cash.
called the police and
Reverse
told them,
mortgage
yeah, I
can put
did,
more
and I
money
come
in your
get me.
pocket by
One of
eliminating your
Trump
monthly
boys,
mortgage
man.
payments, paying off higher interest credit
You know
cards,
that.
and covering medical
Huh?
costs.
How you know that was
AAG
Trump?
will
Look
show
it up,
you
bro.
how a reverse mortgage
You check it out.
uses your built-up home equity to
You know,
give
it's
you
like
tax-free
Arizona
cash
Station.
for almost anything you might need.
Just eliminate the mortgage payment. Freed up a lot of cash for us.
I get to go and do what I want, when I want.
AAG customers talk about the cost along the way, so they know how a reverse mortgage works
At least
and how their
you have
home
it.
would help
But all
pay
you
them back
need is, all you
when
need
they
is
need it the
one
most.
I have no worries anymore. The fact that we're still in this home means so much.
It's done everything for us, got people that would do for us.
Call now to receive your free no obligation info kit. The kit shows you how to get you the cash you need using your home's equity with a reverse mortgage. Find out how your home can start taking care of you. Call 800-263-7084.
The worry every single month to make that payment was gone.
Our customers' homes are taken care of. Maybe your home could do the same for you.
I don't think you
Call
understand what I
AAG,
just
the
said,
country's
though.
#1 reverse mortgage
Goes
lender,
to the
and get your
Colorado
free
Supreme
info kit.
Court.
Call 800-263-7084. That's 800-263-7084.
What is the J.G. Wentworth toll-free number?
How y'all doing, guys? How you doing, bro?
With the push of a button, Constant Contact's AI tools help you know what to say, even when you don't. Constant Contact, helping the small stand tall.
January 10th, the CNN Republican presidential debate, live from Iowa. Who will come out on top? Moderated by Jay Tapper and Dana Bash. The CNN Republican presidential debate, live from Iowa, January 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Introducing Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact.
It is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs, increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance. Plus, stimulate healthy circulation.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better. It makes me feel stronger too.
Perfect for home therapy. Whisper quiet to use while you work.
My circulation is moving, I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. Call and get upgraded to the Deluxe Bundle. Get the faster motor for 5 miles of steps per hour, the step counter, the sport mat, and wireless remote. Call now.
Aaron Burnett out front tonight at 7 on CNN.
Right now in the United States, history is on pause, pending 2 appeals from former President Donald Trump. Today, his lawyers are expected to formally appeal a historic decision in Maine and the one in Colorado that kicked him off the primary ballots in their states under the 14th Amendment and its insurrectionist statute.
Now, we don't know how the courts will rule or whether the matter ultimately will be decided by the Supreme Court. It sure looks that way. But we do know that 46% of Americans say Trump should be disqualified for his actions related to January 6th. That is based on this new Washington Post University of Maryland poll that was completed before these unprecedented bans. The person behind one of those controversial ballot decisions joining us now, that is Maine Secretary of State Shanna Bellows. Secretary, thanks for being with us here. Tell us, do you think that your decision will survive this appeal by Trump and possibly survive the Supreme Court?
Thank you for having me. Well, I think it's important to recognize this is a process. Maine is unlike other states whereby anyone, a registered voter, who challenges a candidate's qualifications must appeal the Secretary of State. I did my job that I was required to do under Maine law and the Constitution in holding a hearing and issuing a decision. The next step under the law is this appeal to Maine Superior Court, and then the Maine Supreme Judicial Court, and then the U.S. Supreme Court. And I, on the last page of my decision, suspended the effect of my decision pending the court process, because that is what's important in the rule of law and the Constitution.
Do you think it will survive the Supreme Court?
I'm going to follow the will of the courts. I don't know what the courts will do. Whatever the courts will do, I'm going to follow the law and follow the court's direction. Certainly welcome the United States Supreme Court to weigh in.
If they disagree with you, what will happen?
If they disagree with me, Trump will be on the ballot, and like I said, I stayed my decision pending the appeal because it's important that the process play out. That's what our laws require.
What do you think that would do to whether your decision was seen as legitimate or not?
For me, my sole consideration was the oath I swore to the Constitution and my obligation as Secretary of State to uphold the election laws. Now, our laws are very specific and unique. When I qualified Mr. Trump for the ballot based on his signatures, registered Maine voters had 5 days to appeal my decision, to challenge that decision, and request a hearing. And indeed, 5 registered Maine voters, including 2 former Republican state senators, did so. I did what I was required to do by law. I had to hold that hearing within 5 days, and then I had to issue my decision within a week of the conclusion of the hearing proceedings. That is how it works in Maine. Under Article 1 of the Constitution, every state controls its election laws, and that's why, for example, in New Hampshire, President Joseph Biden is not on the primary ballot. There are over a dozen Democratic candidates, over a dozen Republican candidates. In Maine, Mr. Chris Christie is also not on the ballot because he didn't meet signature requirements under Maine law. So it is not uncommon for different states to have different requirements for access to the primary ballot.
On the flip side here, if your decision is held up through the court process and Trump is kept off of the ballot, it is possible that your military and overseas ballots that are going out on in January, that they will be different than your state's in-person ballots. Are you prepared for, the confusion that could create?
I want to be crystal clear that as an election administrator, with my civil service staff, who's extraordinarily experienced, we are prepared to ensure that there is no confusion to the voters. Now, certainly it's unprecedented for a Secretary of State to deprive a presidential candidate of ballot access under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. It's also unprecedented for a presidential candidate to engage in insurrection. That being said, issues of ballot access, issues of printing the ballot, these are the issues that my team has dealt with for many years, and we are prepared for any scenario. We will uphold the law. We will ensure that voters have appropriate ballots based on the decisions, and I'm confident of that.
If you send out ballots because it's state, as you said, to have his name on them, and then later send out corrected ballots that don't have his name on them, certainly there may be some instances where people turn in ballots that have his name, or even cast their vote, even though they can't technically, for Donald Trump. What do you do then?
Their engagement with the platform may not come to pass, especially as under the law the Superior Court is required to issue a decision by January 17th. And indeed, it is widely expected that the U.S. Supreme Court may intervene in that time period. So what we are going to do is make preparations and do our job to follow the law and ensure that we protect the voters' franchise. So that is our job, and that is what the civil service staff will do, and I am very confident that if we follow the Constitution and the law, we have to set aside all concerns of politics or partisan considerations. As elected officials, we swear an oath to uphold the Constitution. That is what's required of us.
No, I mean, I agree with you, Mariana. We're talking obviously logistics here, and it is a hypothetical, but it is entirely one that would happen if the Supreme Court does not act as quickly as you're hoping that they will. But that's something, I mean, you're pretty confident that they will have this settled before that will even become an issue.
I am pretty confident that we are prepared to make sure that there is clarity in the process here in Maine and to do right by Maine voters as we always have done, even during difficult, complex, and controversial decisions about ballot access.
Secretary, we very much appreciate your time. All eyes on Maine and Colorado as we go into this critical point in Florida. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The suspect in a fiery crash outside a New Year's Eve concert in upstate New York sped up rear running before barreling toward a crosswalk, slamming into another vehicle and then plowing into the crowd. This is what investigators are saying. The crash killed 2 people and injured 9 others, and police say the suspect, Michael Avery, also died.
Now, days before the crash, officials say that Avery rented a car and bought gasoline and several gasoline containers. Police say at least a dozen were found at the scene. CNN's Brent Gingras has been following the story. So, Brent,
how come they ain't got that house that exploded on their streets?
Terrorism. Right. What more are they learning about these?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems there was some sort of intention here, right? Authorities can be clear about that. What's not clear is why this location, why this timing, why this method of doing this act. And that's what authorities with the Joint Terrorism Task Force, the FBI, and local police there in Rochester, New York, are really trying to get a handle on. What they do know is a little bit about the suspect. As you guys said, Michael Avery, 35 years old, actually from Syracuse, New York, and according to police, he traveled from Syracuse to Rochester several days before this concert on December 31st, was when the concert was. He traveled several days before that, rented a hotel room rented a car, and also, as you guys mentioned, has been seen in several places buying cans of gasoline and filling them up with gasoline. And that is what caused those gasoline cans a huge explosion at the scene. What authorities say is that they believe he purposely sped up, drove into this crowd of concert goers who were leaving the concert at the Kodak Center on New Year's Eve, really only an hour into the New Year's Day, and two people who were in an opposite car in a ride share were killed in that crash. 9 other people were injured as well, and 1 person has critical injuries from this explosion and crash. So again, a lot of questions here are the motive, and that's really what everyone wants to sort of answer at this point, but there does definitely seem some intent here. There's
a whole bunch. They always say that. But you, I got some of that. Man, that shit ain't everywhere no more.
That there were off-duty Rochester police officers that sprung into action to try to render aid to the individuals that were responsible for this heinous act, not even thinking about their own safety. Even in the midst of this despicable tragedy, there is a reminder that there still is goodness in this world.
This tragic incident people's lives all turned into lost their life, not even an hour, like I said, into the news. As far as Avery, as mentioned, he later died at a hospital. Police are conducting or have conducted search warrants at several different locations, also talking to his family members who had hinted at the fact that he might have been suffering from again, no clear motive as to why this incident started.
Yes, sir. These are big boys.
So, 17-year-old exchange student, they say cyber kidnapping details on the bizarre plot that is a familiar staff.
When I go back to the house, I bring him up. Listen, this is basically something to do over there. They're all 3 kids. I got the dry sheets and some free.
Did you know you can say within our I'm on Medicare. I checked the Barber.
Skin craving next level hydration, new Neutrogena Hydro Boost Water Cream. A vital 9 times more hydration to boost your skin's barrier for cleansed, dewy skin that's full of life. Neutrogena Hydro Boost.
Nutrafol is the number 1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement. Start your hair growth journey at Nutrafol.com.
Yeah, that's why I said who was that? Right, Hey, man.
Hi, I'm Jason Alvarez. As far as you probably know, Walbash 25 from WSOP. Play poker on the WSOP free-to-play app. Download now and get the WSOP
Yeah, it happens. That's why Vision Works gives you 100 days to change your mind. It's simple. Anything else I can help you with?
Like what?
Vision Works. See the difference.
Alka-Seltzer Plus Power Max Gel is cold and fluid with more concentrated power. Because the only thing dripping should be your style. Pop, pop, fizz, fizz, Ninja Warriors with Alka-Seltzer Plus. If you have Graves' disease, your eyes could lose something. And your feeling can't be brushed away. Even a little blurry vision can distort things, and something serious may be behind those itchy eyes. Up to 50% of people with Graves could develop a different condition called thyroid eye disease, which should be treated by a different doctor. See an expert. Find a TED eye specialist at isitted.com.
It's all I can find. It's all.
Sponsor job. Get your short list of paying candidates. His resumes and Indeed job criteria. Visit Indeed.com/hire and get started today.
No, it's all gone. It's gone.
So many ways to save. One friend, one happy. That's 365 at Whole Foods.
Chili ones through roll have so many creams. The songs that I don't need it to die.
Meet the weekly shop at Alto's. Get started at
Caramel connoisseur, caramel stuff.
And you my thing about that. Why did they go for it on 4th and Gold? They announced it. First quarter were last. I thought it was a good call. He just made a front about not saying it's still done. That's all. Then they would announce like he said. They always announce where they announce it was a problem. He should have said. Yeah, but I gotta go. 15 for all four. 15, yes, sir. Huh? Yes, I have to pay me. Okay. I'm gonna send him right there. Yes, I got a flat. So what they did was they tried to
exchange student Taiwan for more than a week. They threatened his family back in China and convinced the 17-year-old to leave his host family in Utah to go camp out alone in the snow and in the local
I'll be back in a few minutes.
On Sunday, it was cold and scary but alive. They called it an outside command. They warned scammers are increasingly targeting foreign exchange students like Guam, threatening them and his loved ones back in China. And this is what they have to say. So they tell the victims to isolate themselves, and they monitor them through FaceTime calls in the respect. Although the number convinced the victim under duress to take photos of themselves, make it appear they are really and send the photos to their parents. In China, foreign parents equally terrified, unable to get a hold of their son, reportedly getting these ransom letters and photos, and ultimately calling the school and calling them over their son missing. But only after transferring roughly $1,000 to Chinese bank accounts. Now, with the money, police across China have been pointing international students in particular, Chinese students who are either in China or outside studying, that these stores are impersonating officials. And they call them under investigation, but still they comply. Implicitly coordinated election receivers. That the FBI now warning scammers are becoming more and more communicative because technology, AI, allowing some to make the voices of anyone. Like the blonde man, they found him on Sunday off his day. He wanted to make sure he wanted to stop his family in China. He wanted to make sure that they were okay. And then he asked if he could eat in one cheeseburger. So I did. He did get those things, but it's terrifying. Thinking that his family took advantage of him, the family being very happy, how he really spends so much time and getting away so much money.
It is unsettling. It's always no joke. Our restraints going to be able to get back any
The other thing is it's really difficult. It's not impossible to do that, especially when you think there are multiple bank accounts involved. And a lot of these are within China. And what makes it interesting for us, I'm intrigued to see how Chinese officials are going to be approaching this going forward, because we know, at least in Shanghai and Guangzhou, very large cities across China, have been issuing warnings about this. But we're interested to see how it's going. They said it's very good at in China for 3 years at tracking things down individuals and black money transfers. So in this case, if it is still in China, and if those scammers are in China, it's possible they can track it down. But the challenge on us.
David Culver, thank you for that. Luckily, a positive ending for that story. That young man, okay, and it could have been different. It was very cold out there. It was below freezing temperatures. Up next, a groundbreaking procedure that allows talking about valves in that part, how this could change the landscape. Listen to this
Introducing Jet's Black Psoriasis. He thinks his squeaky red patch under all people see.
Otezla is the #1 prescribed pill to treat plaque psoriasis. It can help you get clearer skin. Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Serious allergic reactions can happen. Otezla may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Some people taking Otezla have depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur.
Live in the world. Ask your doctor about Otezla.
Cancer, it's different in a job. Because your job's
Yeah, they ain't paid me yet. Okay, so what time? I got about 20 minutes. You already know what the number is, right? You said 15, right? Huh? You said 15, right? Right, yes.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital works day after day to find cures and save the lives of children with cancer and other life-threatening diseases.
It's scary to watch your kid battle and fight for their lives.
1 in 5 children diagnosed with cancer in the U.S. will not survive.
Childhood cancer is hard. It's a long road. You just have to give.
Oh, y'all
Give someone that hope.
No, the refs won.
Especially with them being so young.
Oh, y'all lost that game in the first quarter when you went for it on 4th and goal. Like, how many you don't answer that? You're not answering that. That was 3 points. Where it wasn't been decided at the end of the game, right? Why did y'all go for it on 4th and goal in the first quarter?
St. Jude, she's happy to be at home. Every time I take her to the doctor, she's excited to be at home. That's all because of St. Jude.
Call or go online with your credit debit card right now.
Why do I gotta worry about the game? I'm gonna forget about the game in the beginning.
Save the lives of
It's obvious.
Let's cure childhood cancer together.
A 11 days before the first votes are cast in Iowa, 2 Republican presidential candidates in back-to-back town halls. Ron DeSantis at 9, Nikki Haley at 10. The CNN Republican presidential town halls.
All right, Mike, the last play of the game. Last play of the game. When he threw it to old boy, God threw it. Why didn't he throw it out there? That's supposed to be a touchdown. Even after the messed up ref call and they got the change, why didn't God throw it out for? That was a touchdown. He's wide open. Right.
Spectrum reaches multi-screen advertising solutions. Each new media plan reaches the right audience with the right message at the right time. At a national or local level, reach up to 97% of consumers in the markets that matter to you. And have access to advertising on the #1 most viewed streaming platform, the Spectrum TV app. Plus media that moves bigger audiences to action, moves customers to take action. Go to SpectrumNews.com to start promoting
This
your
team went
brand
for it
today.
on 4th and goal in the first quarter, and they knocked down by 14 points.
The Many Lives of Martha Stewart, coming in January on CNN.
Don't they come back to
An 18-day-old baby made this stroke. He became the first person in the world to receive now he's 20 months old.
Hey, hold on, wait. I just saw some
is growing along with his
All we were going to see Alvin Cook getting released by the Jets.
Today it's about the size of an apple. This type of growth was long sought after goal for this type of repair. Let's bring in CNN medical correspondent Meg Terrell. Meg, walk us through this groundbreaking procedure.
He
Yeah, this is like a great example of real good news. This baby was born with this dramatic heart defect, and he needed immediate care, and the previous option would have been to use sort of non-functioning donor hearts, valves, and vessels. The issue with those, as you pointed out, is they don't grow along with the child. So as they get bigger, they need to have more surgeries to get bigger valves and replacement parts. There's also only a 50% chance of survival with that approach. And so with this partial heart transplant, you're actually donating functioning valves and vessels. And the goal, of course, is that those will grow along with the baby. In this case, that is exactly what has happened. We've seen this paper just published in the Journal of the American Dental Association, now going out to this part. Owen Monroe went through the surgery successfully and is now 20 months old, 20 months out from this happening, and meeting all of his developmental milestones according to his family, and he's doing great.
Fantastic that he's meeting all his milestones. So is this how they expect it to keep going, Meg? Is he going to perhaps need some other surgeries once he does get a little older?
The hope is that it won't. The hope really is that the donor hearts will keep growing along with it. Of course, it's important to be able to keep following this, and you'll see it done many more times to see how well it continues to work. But he will need immunosuppressive drugs because he has these donated parts, but the hope is that it won't be the way it was before, where you have to get multiple surgeries.
Meg, on the question of this getting replicated, how do you
There have now, so Owen was the first, but since there have been 12 more of these procedures performed, including 9 at Duke Health, where this was really pioneered and where the doctor who pioneered this worked. And, you know, our reporter, Brenda Goodman, reported in her story when Owen's parents asked the doctor, how many times have you done this before? He said, well, I've done it 5 times on pig legs. So Owen and his family are really true pioneers here.
Good for him. I hope nothing but help.
What a beautiful kid.
Thank you so much. So the president of Harvard said he's resigning. The very latest on our top story when we come back.
An important message for Americans aged 50 to 85.
Gotta check the lines on a couple of these games. That's for the division.
It's fine. Well, it is a family heirloom.
The kids can just
Oh yeah, Miami and the Bills is for the
It's a good
division.
thing you have life insurance.
Life insurance with our family history. Don't you know about Colonial Penn? It's guaranteed acceptance full life insurance with no medical questions asked. I'm on a fixed income. Who is it? Colonial Penn.
That's right. Colonial Penn Life Insurance Company. As you get older, your health may change. Colonial Penn understands that. And we don't take it. To help protect your family. That's why we guarantee acceptance to everyone aged 50 to 85. No health questions, no medical exam. Applying is easy. And you have your choice of options starting at $9.95 a month, $2 a week, 35 cents a day. And your price will never go up. A lifetime rate lock guarantees it. This protection can last a lifetime. Some insurance policies end once you reach a certain age. Not this one. Pay your bill. It's yours to keep for as long as you like. Ready to learn more? Call for free information and your free gift. There's no obligation.
Call 1-800-651-7500 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-651-7500. There's no obligation. 1-800-651-7500. Call now.
Celebrate mouth-watering moments with Omaha Steak's end of season event. For a limited time, 50% off site-wide. That's 50% off all your favorites. This is the best time to save big and enjoy the taste of guaranteed perfection with their way to celebrate and with the rich, decadent quality of something you know you'll love. Order now and get 8 burgers free with your order. Visit omahasteaks.com/eat today to find all our end of season savings.
Okay, everyone. Our mission is to provide complete balanced nutrition for strength and energy.
And sure, with